Alright guys, on this episode of Oli Oli Paints, we have a 2011 Honda CR-V and it's sun faded. Let's get into this. Alright, like I said, this CR-V has lived its life outside. Red tends to fade over time. My Tundra is the same way. It's more of a pink at this point. This has faded to like an orange. All right, so I grabbed my chips and laid them across the hood and they were all completely off, right? Checked the door jambs and my chips match great. So I know that the car is just sun faded. It's an older vehicle. To me, I hear 2011, it doesn't sound that old still, but it is. But I'll show you kind of what I did to get a color that will blend. Because I don't know if you guys can see, but we have a used door, which is here to my right. Used door, and we're blending the front, blending the quarter. So we have blend room. So we just need to get something that's close. So this little guy right here, this is a color match camera, okay? Now, when you go to a paint store, or a supply store, they have these, and if they don't, they're not a very good supply place. So say you're going to paint a project for yourself at home, even if you're doing this in rattle cans, drive the vehicle there or bring a piece of it and they will color scan it. This is not perfect. You still need to make a spray out card like this. This is a metal spray out card, and you can get them colored. So this is dark gray sealer, basically is what this mimics. But you can make a spray out card, check it versus the vehicle. If it doesn't match, have them scan it again. Basically how this works and how I did this is I polished a spot here on the hood. I first sanded it with 3000 grit, removed any kind of swirl marks, scratches, anything like that. Polished it so it's just mirror finish, scanned it, and it pointed me in the direction of Subaru H2Q, which is Venetian red and a variant of that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put you guys on my head again. I'll show you the process of making a spray out card, checking it, and we'll see if I can blend that color out or not. I'm pretty positive. So this first spray out card that I made, this is a Fiat color. It's like Rosso red or something like that. And it's close. This I could definitely blend considering where it's at. I just wanted it more on the orange side. And the Venetian red is more of an orange tone, pearl red. So I'm going to spray that one out and then we'll make a determination and see what one I want to use.
Okay, let's get this whole party started. As usual, you gotta blow the whole job down, get it tack ragged. I got this Ion Star a couple of weeks ago, and I've been using it religiously, and I've been polishing less and less and less. This static gun is a lot different than the other ones. A lot like the one that Gabriel uses. You don't have to charge this one. Don't know the wizardry that goes into it, but it doesn't require charging, and somehow you get this light that says Ion Star when it's working and you're at the right pressure. Even on the back of that, like where my thumb's at, there's a little LED that'll light up green when you're at the optimal pressure, which is like 30 to 50 psi. So you can actually cover ground. Like the other static guns that I've used kind of just put out a little bit of air. And to be honest with you, it's really frustrating because you can't really cover a lot of ground quickly like you can with this. So I'm much happier using this thing. Plus that little case is pretty sick. Start this out, I just use the Meiji Finer Core spray gun for sealer. Oh, excuse me. Guys, I've recorded this voiceover like 100 times at this point, trying to figure out why Resolve will not save my voiceover. So hopefully this one goes through and everything works out. So just know that this is a labor of love. But so far so good. Everything's recording and we're looking good. You can see I'm using my little Meiji finer core for sealer. I've been using this thing more and more. And for sealer, man, it honestly, it slaps. I'm really enjoying it. And you can see that that's the new 3M vented cups. I have a few kits on order that I'm hoping will be here next week. So I can start my switch over from SATA RPS. And like the real reason why I want to get away from RPS is I'm not a real big fan of how they do their lids. And like the whole adapter, like if you over tighten it, you can ruin the lid and then it leaks. With the 3M, at least it's still a vented cup like the RPS, but you get the mounting of a 3M PPS cup, which is super secure. And I think they're cheaper. Oh, and here's a little Rattle Bomb, a spot blender, because I'm gonna obviously seal these edges. And that's just going to start that color transition. So I know that door and those blends should be spot on. But this little spot blender, you could spray it right over the edge, like you see me doing here. And it just melts the edge. Typically, I just put reducer in a gun and spray some slow reducer over it. But I just had this in the booth, so I decided to use it. And it works fine. It's made by like Car Rep Spray, I think is the brand. And somebody the other day was confused about base coat blender and like what the actual use of it is. I basically use it for a couple of reasons. A, I can see what I'm doing a heck of a lot better with a nice coat of this on there. Because it kind of glosses up the surface, you can see blends a lot nicer. And when you put a coat of this down, it's kind of a barrier coat and a nice even level surface for your color to lay down on. So even if you have to sand sealer, you can use 800 grit and then just do a coat of this over it, and your metallics and pearls won't sit in that sand scratch because it's got something to lay down on. I also use this 3M Performance gun. This is the plastic new version of the AccuSpray. And honestly, guys, like I can't fault this thing. It's so convenient and easy to clean up that I just keep grabbing it because it's simple. I mean, you can see I'm just making my spray out card. I was pretty dang sure that this color was going to match and blend great anyway, but it's always good to make sure. I think my match rating was like a 0.5 or something like that. And you'll see me grab my color light and yep, spot on. I honestly probably could have panel painted this door, but when you're trying to do stuff the right way, you got to blend it out. Yep, see, everything looked good. And it's on to color. And this, like, I don't want you guys to, like, look at this 3M gun and be like, oh, that thing is amazing. It sprays so good. Honestly, guys, it doesn't spray any better than any other gun. It's literally the convenience factor and ease of cleaning. And it just happens to spray pretty decent. I've noticed that it's a lot slower than I'm used to. But I've also noticed that there's less overspray. And it honestly uses a little bit less paint to do the same job. Not like significantly, but enough to where I notice a few more ounces than usual. You can see that this color covered fantastic. I think I was spraying this at like 18 or 19 psi. And on this gun, the best thing to do is to follow the setup guide. Like it comes with a little like laminated piece of plastic paper, and it's got all like the gun settings for whatever you're trying to spray with it. Follow that to like get a good baseline on how you want to use this thing, because it sets you up pretty dang well. I think I'm like a turn and a half or 2 turns in on the fan, 2 turns in on the fluid, like 18 or 19 psi, and it works pretty dang good for me. I always love spraying reds, especially in 9K, because it just covers so nice. I mean, you guys could see that I'm kind of I'm not really flicking down that door. I've got my gun kind of angled that way just so it blends out. This color blended amazing anyway, so let this flash off. Using my little Walcom Bandit blower. Shout out to Gabriel. I bought this from Gabriel probably 5 years ago, and I'm still using it. I use it every single day. I do have some of those like pistol blowers that I use when I'm doing like big hoods or full unisize or anything like massive, but the little fan blower does me pretty dang good 90% of the time. I'm just doing my second coverage coat. This only took 2 coats and a drop coat, and it was ready to go. I also had somebody the other day asking me about spraying wet on wet. And that's something typically I do when it's nice and hot outside. In the wintertime, it's a little cooler, a little drier. I just kind of take my time and do it coat by coat. If you want to do wet on wet and it's a little bit cooler, you can add, I think it's 5 to 10%. You need to talk to your rep, but 5 to 10% U9H1, which is a universal hardener. Maybe I'll make a video on that. I'll just do a video spraying the color wet on wet, or like some guys call it the cascade method, which is basically doing everything all in one shot. And it works good. It's just, I'm not always in a huge rush, so I don't mind doing it coat by coat. You can see this control coat's just laying down nice and silky. Basically, with waterborne, you want this to just look super silky at the end of it. As long as everything looks silky, you're good to go. This control coat finishing out our blends. Everything's looking beautiful. And this is like the last step that I always do, is I'll do a coat of clear base over the entire thing. It just, again, glosses up the surface, allows you to see your blends, and it also locks down all those pearls, metallics, any of the overspray that would have turned into sand pile at the ends. So then you end up polishing less because you don't have anything, any chunks of anything hanging out in the end of your blend panels. And I know it goes on blue, but I promise it dries clear. And I don't do it on the new panel. I just on my blends. And here's another thing. Not necessarily an argument, but was having a conversation that the guy was apparently getting heated about. Sealed cups like PPS versus vented cups. And I was trying to explain to the guy that it's every single gun that you buy comes with a vented cup. They're designed around a vented cup. This is the cup that came with my Segola, and it has a vent on the top. They just spray better with a vented cup. So if you're on the fence, if you're a DIY guy, don't even waste your time going out and getting like the PPS system, even the PPS 1.0. I would just use the cup that came with the gun and clean it. I know it's a pain in the butt to clean it, but if you need a place to store paint, store them in mixed cups. You can buy them with lids. They're cheaper than the sealed cups, and I promise you that cup that the gun came with sprays better than any bag cup system. I like those for base coat, but for clear, I can't get down with it. And I'm more talking about disposable cups, not the sealed cups. I'm not really a fan of those much at all, actually. I switched to SATA RPS a few years ago, and ever since then, every time I have to use a sealed PPS cup and liner system, I can tell immediately that it doesn't flow as good, and I don't like it. But for clear, I've just been using the cup that this came with, and it's been working fantastic. It holds, I believe, like at a max 21 ounces, 22 ounces, something like that. And I still, so if I mix up, I think I mixed 20 for this job. You just pour what you didn't use back into the mix cup, and that'll tell you how much you actually used. And then you know if you need to mix more or not. Yeah, this job went incredibly smooth. This poor car was pretty rough, but even though it was faded, we got a color that matched. And it goes back to, like, your paint code isn't always the color of your car. Sometimes the sun changes the color a little bit. Or it was previously wrecked and repaired and it is a different color. It just depends. I mix up and spray what matches. I don't care what the paint code is. That's just a starting point. Sweet, and that's the first coat to clear. Everything was looking pretty slick. The second coat, I always just do the faces. Insides the jams and stuff, they only need one coat anyway. And typically on a second coat, I back up maybe like 2 inches and spray it a little bit wetter than that first coat. I was alwaed taught to spray it how you wanted it to look, so I spray pretty wet both coats anyway. I just sprayed a extra a little wetter on the second coat. It's so satisfying, and even satisfying sitting here watching clearing over red. Like, it's you know, even after dinking around spraying cars for 7-8 years, that is just my jam. Apparently a lot of other people like watching it too, because I've had videos clearing over red just do over 1 million views, and it's wild. I think YouTube has honestly been one of the harder nuts to crack. But, you know, I'm going to just stay consistent, stay making these videos for you guys. And if you guys got anything you want to see, a specific video, whatever, leave me a comment, because that just helps everybody by answering your question and being able to make these videos. So that looks pretty dang good. Glossy as heck. That is a Dimension DC5020, by the way, with US4 reducer. Beautiful. The door looks flawless.
Alright guys, as you've seen, that went pretty dang smooth. The best tool that you guys can use when it comes to red, especially faded colors like this, is that color camera to get you pointed in the right direction. Because I don't know, over on the hood, I don't know if you guys seen that part, but I cleared that other spray out card. That was my first one. And then this was the second one that I made. This is that Venetian red Subaru color. Your paint code isn't always your paint code. A lot of times, either your car has been repaired before, it's sun faded, or it's just not, it wasn't painted at the same time as the other one. Like, you're not confined by your paint code. When it comes to color matching in an auto body environment and body shops, we use what matches. So if it's not your paint code, like this is H2Q, this isn't R525P, but this matches the vehicle. And reds, they don't have to be 100% perfect to blend. You do need to start with that ground color. You guys see me seal those door edges. Super duper important, so when we put this door on, edge to edge, it looks great. And you guys could see from the GoPro footage that our blends, you can't see where that new color starts and stops, and that's exactly what you want. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you liked it, hit that like button. That just pushes it to more people. Hit the subscribe button. I'm gonna do way more of these. So yeah, thanks for watching and hanging out with me, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.